Daniel Carter was no ordinary man. He was a self-made billionaire, a highly respected entrepreneur, and a philanthropist who had dedicated his life to uplifting communities. His wealth and influence spanned industries, technology, finance, and education, but beyond his success, he was known for his humility and unwavering belief in equality. Despite his achievements, Daniel had faced racial prejudice throughout his life. Some were subtle, like questioning glances when he entered high-end restaurants. Others were blatant, like being ignored at luxury boutiques until someone recognized who he was. He had learned to navigate these moments with grace, knowing that the real battle was not just for himself but for the world to be better, fairer, and kinder. On this particular day, Daniel was boarding a first-class flight to an international business summit, where he was set to deliver a keynote speech. His presence would command global attention, yet on this flight, no one knew who he was, and that suited him just fine. As Daniel walked onto the plane, he gave a warm nod to the flight attendants. He wasn't one to flaunt his wealth, so he dressed in a simple yet elegant manner: dark slacks, a fitted blazer, and polished shoes. His calm demeanor often led people to mistake him for an everyday businessman rather than the billionaire mogul he was. Settling into his seat by the window, he took out his tablet, reviewing his speech notes. Around him, other first-class passengers were relaxing, sipping champagne, and chatting quietly. Emily, a young flight attendant, moved gracefully down the aisle, attending to passengers with a professional yet friendly smile. She had been working in the airline industry for 3 years. And though she prided herself on her excellent service, she sometimes made snap judgments based on appearances, something she wasn't fully aware of until today. She served the first-class passengers one by one, placing their meals and drinks on their trays with ease. She didn't wear gloves. After all, in premium class, extra effort was made to make passengers feel special. Gloves were usually reserved for handling trash or specific sanitary needs, but when Emily reached Daniel, something changed. As she approached his seat, she hesitated for just a second. It wasn't a conscious decision, but something in her mind caused her to react differently. Without realizing it, she reached into her pocket, pulled out a pair of disposable gloves, and slipped them onto her hands before serving him his meal. Daniel noticed immediately, she hadn't worn gloves for the passengers before him. He had watched as she served the others with bare hands, treating them with an effortless familiarity. But now, with him, there was an unspoken difference. He remained silent for a moment, observing her. She placed the tray down carefully, avoiding eye contact, then moved on without a word. Daniel exhaled slowly. He had been here before. Small actions, unconscious biases, and assumptions that spoke louder than words. He could have ignored it. He could have let it pass, as he had done 1,000 times before. But today, he decided otherwise. When Emily passed by again, Daniel looked up and spoke in a calm but firm tone. "Excuse me, Mississippi." Emily stopped and turned to him. "Yes, sir. Is there something you need?" Daniel gestured toward his tray. "I noticed that you put on gloves before serving me. I was just curious." "Why?" Her expression stiffened slightly. "Oh. It's just standard hygiene protocol," she said quickly. Daniel tilted his head, his eyes kind but sharp. "That's interesting. I didn't see you wearing gloves when you served the other passengers." A few nearby passengers glanced over, sensing that something was unfolding. Emily's face turned slightly red. She opened her mouth as if to respond, but no words came out at first. She suddenly felt exposed, like a spotlight had been placed on a bias she hadn't even realized she had. One of the passengers sitting across the aisle, a businessman who recognized Daniel, leaned toward her and whispered, "Do you even know who that is?" "That's Daniel Carter. He's one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world." Emily's eyes widened in shock. She turned back to Daniel, realizing the gravity of what had just happened. She had unknowingly singled out one of the most influential men in the world, not because of his status, but because of her own unconscious prejudice. Emily fumbled to remove the gloves, her hands shaking slightly. I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't mean to offend you." Daniel's expression remained calm. He wasn't looking for an apology, he wanted something deeper. "I'm not offended," he said gently. "But I think it's important to ask yourself, why did you feel the need to put on gloves for me and not for anyone else?" Emily swallowed hard, shame creeping over her. She had no answer. Daniel leaned slightly forward. "Respect shouldn't be determined by appearance, race, or status. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, whether they're a billionaire or someone you've never met before." Emily looked down, nodding. "You're right," she admitted. "I didn't think. I just acted. And I see now that it was wrong." A few passengers murmured in agreement. The weight of the moment settled in the air. Daniel smiled faintly. "We all have biases. What matters is recognizing them and choosing to do better." Emily nodded again, truly understanding for the first time. For the rest of the flight, Emily made an extra effort to treat every passenger with the same warmth and respect. It wasn't just about Daniel anymore, it was about unlearning something she had never realized was ingrained in her. When the plane landed, she hesitated for a moment before Daniel disembarked. "Mr. Carter," she said softly. He turned back. "Thank you," she said, her voice genuine. "Not just for your patience, but for teaching me something important today." Daniel gave her a warm nod. The real change happens when we're willing to learn. As he walked off the plane, Emily knew that this flight had changed her, because in the end, respect isn't just for the powerful, the wealthy, or the well-known, it's for everyone.